Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to go through the Bmat 2013 Section 1. If you found this video informative, please like, comment and share this video. Now let the explaining begin. Question 1. The INCO company switchboard is covered by 3 operators, exactly 2 being on duty on any day. Bob works on the switchboard for a maximum of 3 days a week. None of the operators work for 4 consecutive days in a week. The manager is preparing a new rota and, due to other constraints, has filled it in as far as shown below. Which days will Carla work? The correct answer is A because of the following. Point 1. On Monday, both Amy and Bob must work, because 2 operators need to be on duty. That means Bob cannot work on Wednesday or Thursday, because he only works 3 days a week. Point 2. Both Carla and Amy must therefore work on both Wednesday and Thursday. Amy therefore cannot work on Tuesday, otherwise, she would be working 4 consecutive days, which is not allowed. Point 3. Consequently, Carla must work on the Tuesday. Carla cannot work on the Friday though, otherwise, she too would be working 4 consecutive days. Therefore, Carla works on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, so the correct answer is A. Question 2. Cosmologists have suggested new criteria for the boundaries of the habitable zone, i.e. the region around a star, such as the Sun, in which liquid water can theoretically exist. This zone is also called the Goldilocks zone, because temperatures are just right for life there. The new criteria make many planets look too hot for liquid water. One example is Kepler 22b, which was once deemed the most habitable world outside our solar system. Surprisingly, Earth, which by the old criteria used to be in the middle of our Sun's habitable zone, is now much closer to the warm edge, so that it seems to be almost too hot for liquid water. Of course, we know that Earth is robustly life-friendly. The mismatch is probably because neither set of criteria accounts for clouds, which reflect sunlight away from Earth. Which one of the following is a conclusion that can be drawn from the above passage? C is the correct answer because the passage states that there is a mismatch between what the criteria deem to be habitable what actually is habitable. Question 3. My 4 grandchildren are called Ben, Maria, Adam and Tara. Their birthdays are on the 128th, 182nd, 218th and 281st days of the year respectively, except in leap years. Which 2 of my grandchildren have their birthdays on the same day of the week as each other every year? The correct answer is C because of the following. 2 birthdays will be on the same day if they are separated by a multiple of 7 days as there are this many days in a week. By inspection, it is clear that only 218th and 281th corresponding to Adam and Tara respectively, are separated by a multiple of 7 days. 281 minus 218 equals 63 equals 7 multiplied by 9. Therefore the correct answer is C. Question 4. It seems that, no matter how obvious the connection between eating too much and gaining weight, we are all looking for a simple way to cheat our biology and eat more than we need. Although there is a great deal that we do not understand about the individual differences in calorie burn and fat storage in the body, we do know that our bodies burn calories in relation to our level of physical activity. Effectively, our bodies are like vehicles. If we are using fuel quickly we need to put more in, but if we hardly use any fuel up it is a mistake to keep adding more. Therefore, the secret to losing weight is painfully simple: do more and/or eat less. Which one of the following is the best expression of the main conclusion in the above argument? Statement C is the main conclusion of the argument because the passage says, the secret to losing weight is painfully simple: do more and/or eat less. Statement C is essentially that reworded. Question 5. Jason had 240 spruggles that he wanted to sell, so he rented a market stall for 2 days. He set the price at £12 each, and was disappointed when he sold less than a quarter of them on the first day. He decided that he would reduce the price by 25% for the second day. On the second day he sold exactly twice as many, and took £342 more than the previous day, leaving him with less than 1/3 of his original stock. How many spruggles did Jason sell altogether during the 2 days? The correct answer is D because of the following. Step 1. The price of an individual spruggle on day 1 and day 2 is £12 and £9 respectively. £9 is 25% less than £12. Step 2. Let X be the number Jason sells on day 1, so he sells 2X on day 2. Therefore you can derive the following formula. Number sold on day 1 at £12, plus £342, number sold on day 2 at £9, 12x plus 342 equals 9 multiplied by 2x, 12x plus 342 equals 18 by 342 equals 6x equals 57. Step 3. Jason sold X on day 1 and 2x on day 2, so overall he sold 3x. 3x equals 3 multiplied by 57 equals 171. Therefore, the correct answer is D. Question 6. Though it has now been contested, it is still believed by many archaeologists that the first inhabitants of the Americas were a group of people from Asia who walked across from Siberia to Alaska and headed south. They were the Clovis, accomplished toolmakers and hunters who subsisted on big game killed with their characteristic flint spears. Around 13,500 years ago, near the end of the last ice age, a brief window of opportunity opened up for humans to enter North America. The sea level was lower than it is today, and Siberia and Alaska were connected by a now submerged land bridge. As the world began to warm, the huge ice sheets that blocked entry into North America began to retreat, leaving an ice-free corridor to the east of the Rockies. The Clovis walked right in before the sea rose again. The presence of distinctive stone tools throughout the US and northern Mexico supports the Clovis first theory, as does the timing of an extinction that wiped out more than 30 groups of large mammals, including mammoths, camelids, and saber-toothed cats. Which one of the following, if true, would most seriously challenge the Clovis first theory? C is the correct answer because the text states that the Clovis people could only have entered North America when ice retreated 13,500 years ago, approximately 11,500 BC. This means that the human settlement dating back to 12,000 BC could not have been Clovis. Question 7. Simon, Liam, Ian, Dylan and Eric make up the boy band Slide. Their surnames are Doyle, Floyd, Hyde, Rush and Shaw, but I can't remember which surname goes with which first name. My friend tells me that no letter of the alphabet appears twice in any of the boys' full names, first name and surname combined, and the surname of each boy has a different number of letters from his first name. What is Ian's surname? The correct answer is A because of the following. Point 1. Ian has only 3 letters in his first name, but all the surnames have more than 3 letters, and so Ian's surname could be any of them. You should be able to spot that all the surnames have different letters to those in Ian, and so this does not help you narrow down which surname belongs to him. Therefore you will need to find the surnames of the other band members. Point 2. Simon cannot have the surname Doyle, Floyd, Rush or Shaw, because they all contain at least one of the letters in his first name. He must therefore have Hyde. Point 3. Liam cannot have Doyle or Floyd, but can have Rush or Shaw, as the former 2 surnames share the letter L with Liam. Since we know that the first name cannot have the same number of letters as the surname, then this eliminates Rush, and thus only Shaw remains. Point 4. Dylan cannot have Doyle or Floyd but can have Rush or Shaw, as the former 2 surnames share the letter D with Dylan. Since we know that the first name cannot have the same number of letters as the surname, then this eliminates Shaw, and thus only Rush remains. Point 5. Eric cannot have Rush or Shaw, as these all share the letter R with Eric. He thus can be a Doyle or a Floyd. Since there is a shared E in Eric and Doyle, Eric's surname must be Floyd. Point 6. Simon has Hyde, Liam has Shaw, and Dylan has Rush and Eric has Floyd. Ian must therefore have the only remaining surname, Doyle. Therefore the correct answer is A. Question 8. The first paragraph ends with the sarcastic comment, "No, really?" In the context of the whole article, which one of the following best expresses the point the author is making by this comment? The correct answer is D because the paragraphs after this comment go on to explain reasons why childhood in modern times is less carefree than it was when people were poorer in the UK. Additionally, the question tells you that this comment is sarcastic, meaning that the author means the opposite of what the comment literally means. We can therefore conclude that the author is implying that it is not surprising to hear this, so statement D must be correct. Question 9. Assuming this is correct, Which of the following does it most reliably support? The correct answer is A, because the evidence suggests a negative correlation between wealth and happiness. Question 10. Also in paragraph 2. Which, if either, of the following is an assumption required by the argument attributed to the psychologist Daniel Kahneman? 1. People who work shorter hours will give more time to their children. 2. Failing to achieve wealth and success does not cause stress. The correct answer is D, because of the following. In this context, an assumption is a statement that is not stated directly in the text but which must be true for the argument to be accurate. To identify an assumption, we therefore need to know what the argument is. In this case, this is straightforward as the text gives us the argument made by Dr. Kahneman in a succinct form, that being successful at work causes stress and results in having less time to spend on other areas of life, which has a knock-on effect on their children. Once you have identified the argument, you can then consider each statement in turn and check if it is mentioned directly in the passage. If it is not an assumption. If not, consider whether the statement needs to be true in order for the argument to be supported. If it does need to be true, then you have identified an assumption. If it does not, then the statement is not an assumption of the argument. Statement 1 is incorrect because the argument does not suggest that people who are good at their job or work long hours give less time to their children. It only suggests that they have less time to devote to other things, which will then have a knock-on effect on their children. So people who work shorter hours may devote exactly the same time to their children, but more time to other things that will affect their children positively. Statement 2 is incorrect because Kahneman's argument does not assume that failing to be successful does not cause stress. For example, someone may be unsuccessful and this could cause stress, but this would be irrelevant to his argument, which is focused solely on the stresses caused by being successful at work. The correct answer is therefore D. Question 11. Which one of the following best describes the evidence that is offered in the remainder of paragraph 4 for the above conclusion? The correct answer is B, because this means that the evidence is a short, true story about a real event. Question 12. Historically, alchemists associated 7 particular metals with the 7 bodies of the solar system that are visible to the naked eye. They used the corresponding astrological symbols for these metals. Thus, the card game alchemy involves identifying pairs of cards that are equivalent to each other. There are 36 pairs in the pack of 72 cards. Each card contains the name of a metal, the name of a celestial body, and a symbol. A pair consists of 2 cards that have the same 3 equivalent items in the same order, e.g., these 8 cards have just been laid out in front of the players. How many pairs are there in these 8 cards? The correct answer is B, because of the following. Consider the first card, in the top left corner. A matching card must have silver or the moon symbol on the top row. Only the top right card, card number 4, matches. Moving on to the symbol below moon, this does not match the symbol below silver, therefore there are no pairs. Continuing with this method finds the following pair: card 3, tin, Saturn, symbol for gold, and card 5, Jupiter, symbol for Saturn and gold. There is only one pair, therefore the answer is B. Question 13. There has been a great deal of research into the use of placebos and, whilst it remains unclear why they work, the research clearly shows that placebos can have a powerful effect. Placebos present in some cases an ideal therapy. They are cheap and have few or no side effects. Those who argue that the prescription of a placebo represents a breach of patient-doctor trust should recognize that whilst placebos may not contain any active ingredients, a doctor may prescribe one in the genuine hope that this will offer their patient a real therapeutic benefit. In the interests of providing the most desirable outcomes, it is clear that placebos should be used as a treatment offered by the NHS. Which one of the following principles can be best used to support the above argument? D is the correct answer because the main conclusion is that placebos should be offered by the NHS. This is justified on the basis that they have been proven to be effective in some cases. Therefore, the statement that treatments should be offered on the basis of outcomes supports the argument. Question 14. The 4 digits of the PIN for my credit card are all different. When the digits are written as words, they are in alphabetical order and the total number of letters is the same as the numerical sum of the digits themselves. The first digit of my PIN is 4 and the last digit is 0. What is the total number of letters that make up the other 2 digits? The correct answer is B because of the following. Step 1. 4, something, something, 0. The numbers that come after 4 in the alphabet, which can therefore be used, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 9. Step 2. The next step is to figure out the difference between the number of letters when the digit is written as a word and the number itself. For example, 9 has 4 letters, so the difference between 4 and 9 is 5. Doing this for the other numbers gives 1, minus 2, 2, minus 1, 3, minus 2, 6, plus 3, 7, plus 2. Doing this for the numbers given in the pin code gives 4, 0, and 0, minus 4. Step 3. When choosing the digits, you want the overall difference between the number of letters and the numbers themselves to be 0, because the question says that these two numbers are equal. So the two numbers chosen should have an overall difference of plus 4, to equalize the minus 4 in the pin number already. The only two numbers that achieve this are 9, plus 5, and 2, minus 1, 5 minus 1 equals 4, 4 minus 4 equals 0. The total number of letters in these two words is 4 plus 3 equals 7. When added to the 8 letters from the numbers given by the question, this gives 15. When you add up all the digits in the pin number, this also gives a total of 15. So all conditions of the question have been met. Therefore, the correct answer is B. Question 15. Risk of death contradicts the very concept of sport, since sport is generally considered to belong to the less serious side of life. Sport is what people do to counter the stress and pressure of work, not to increase them. The growth in the popularity of so-called extreme sports, where there is a real risk of death, is therefore puzzling, particularly since the modifications in equipment which are designed to make the sports safer do not lead to fewer accidents but to ever higher performance levels and greater exposure to danger. Which one of the following, if true, most weakens the above argument? Statement B is the correct answer. The argument is based on the assumption that sport is mostly done to counter the stress and pressure of work. If in fact most people do sport for another reason, such as to escape from work's obsession with safety, then extreme sports are a legitimate form of sport and therefore the argument is undermined. Question 16. I have 3 children. The eldest is Jenny, the middle one is Alice, and the youngest is Michael. They were all born on the 17th of the month, and their names all begin with the first letter of the month in which they were born. Within the same calendar year, Jenny's and Alice's birthdays are 2 months apart. Alice's and Michael's birthdays are 5 months apart. How far apart are Jenny's and Michael's birthdays? The correct answer is C because of the following. Point 1 to 1. Jenny could have been born in January, June or July. 2. Alice could have been born in April or August. 3. Michael could have been born in March or May. Point 2. Jenny's and Alice's birthdays are 2 months apart. Out of the months available to each of them, the possible combinations are April and June or June and August. Point 3. Alice's and Michael's birthdays are 5 months apart. Out of the months available to each of them, the only possible combination is March and August. Alice must have been born in August, therefore Jenny must have been born in June and Michael must have been born in March. The difference between June and March is 3 months, so the answer is C. Question 17. Lack of sleep is known to adversely affect our attention, alertness, concentration, judgment and problem-solving abilities. Every human faculty deteriorates with age, and the ability to sleep well is no exception. Old people have more difficulty falling asleep, and thus on average have less sleep than young people. This must account for the impairment in memory which often occurs with aging. 1. Impairment in memory may cause worry which leads to lack of sleep. 2. Individuals may vary in the extent to which they experience memory loss and lack of sleep. 3. Changes in the brain due to aging may cause deterioration in memory and sleep patterns. Which of the numbered statements identifies a weakness in the above argument? The correct answer is D because of the following. When establishing if a statement strengthens or weakens an argument, first establish what the conclusion is. Then we need to establish what evidence the author is using to support that claim. You can then go through the statements and see if they support or undermine the argument, whether by directly supporting or undermining the conclusion or by strengthening or weakening the evidence provided. There are also some classic flaws to look out for. These include ad hominem, This is where the argument is based on attacking another person who has made a counter-argument rather than explaining why their argument is incorrect. Argument from authority. The argument is based on something being true simply because an authority figure has said so. Circular argument. The argument does not provide any evidence, some things are just plain wrong. Confusing correlation with causation. The argument claims that because two things happen at the same time, one must cause the other. Statement 1 identifies a weakness in the argument. This is because the passage notes that there is correlation between lack of sleep and memory loss, i.e., lack of sleep and memory loss both increase as age increases. However, the argument then misinterprets this correlation as causation when it says that the lack of sleep must account for memory loss. It could just as easily be the memory loss that causes lack of sleep, or some other factor that affects both. Statement 2 does not identify a weakness in the argument. This is because the passage does not imply that the extent to which individuals experience memory loss and lack of sleep is always the same. Statement 3 identifies a weakness in the argument. This is due to the same reason as Statement 1. The passage misinterprets correlation as causation. The correlation between memory loss and lack of sleep could be due to a third factor, e.g., changes in the brain, causing both. The correct answer is therefore D. Question 18. I have a digital clock that displays the date as well as the time. Just after 4 p.m. on the 25th of April, I happened to glance at the clock and saw, it struck me that the 4 numbers on the clock were all different square numbers. When I thought about it, I realized that this would occur another 3 times within the next hour, then not again until September. How many times will my clock display 4 different non-zero square numbers during September? The correct answer is B because of the following. Recall that square numbers are numbers that can be created by squaring another number. Step 1. Firstly, you need to determine valid square numbers for all the variables that are displayed on the clock in September: minutes, hours, date and month. 1. Possible minutes: 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. 2. Possible hours: 1, 4, 9, 16. 3. Possible dates: 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. 4. Possible month: 9. Step 2. Remove 9 from minutes, hours and dates, because all the square numbers have to be different and the question is only asking for the possibilities in 1 month, September. 1. Possible minutes: 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. 2. Possible hours: 1, 4, 16. 3. Possible dates: 1, 4, 16, 25. 4. Possible month: 9. Step 3. Begin considering possible dates, then hours, then minutes. For the first, there are 2 possible hour numbers with 4 possible minute numbers for each hour. This gives 2 multiplied by 4 equals 8 combinations. For the fourth, there are 2 possible hour numbers with 4 possible minute numbers for each hour. This gives 2 multiplied by 4 equals 8 combinations. For the, there are 2 possible hour numbers with 4 possible minute numbers for each hour. This gives 2 multiplied by 4 equals 8 combinations. For the, there are 3 possible hour numbers with 4 possible minute numbers for each hour. This gives 3 multiplied by 4 equals 12 combinations. This means there are 36 combinations in total. Therefore, the correct answer is B. Question 19. The 4-color theorem states that any map in the plane can be colored using at most 4 colors such that no edge has the same color on both sides. The map of an island below shows the simplest configuration, which needs 4 colors: red, R, green, G, yellow, Y, and blue, B. In order to analyze more complicated maps, it is often convenient to represent them as graphs, where points represent regions and lines joining the points represent edges. The map above becomes, in this case, all points are joined to each other as all regions touch. In more complicated maps, there will be more points, areas, with each color. The following map of an island is only partially colored. What is the most that can be said about region 10? The correct answer is B because of the following. Point 1. The region below X must be green, G. This is because this area is in contact with areas that are blue, yellow and red, and so it cannot be these colors, as the rule says the same color cannot be on both sides of an edge. The only remaining color is green. Point 2. Following the same rule, the region above X could therefore be red, R, or yellow, Y, since there is an adjacent area that is blue. X could therefore be R or Y depending on what the color of the region above is. X could also be blue, B, since the surrounding areas are not blue either. So X can be yellow, blue or red, therefore the correct answer is B. Question 20. A chessboard can be colored with two colors. If a circular piece is placed somewhere on the chessboard, how many possible extra colors might be needed, depending on its size and position? The correct answer is C because of the following. Point 1. The smallest size the circular piece could be is one that is entirely contained within a square of one color, e.g. blue. Any square that is blue will then have to touch adjacent squares of another color, e.g. yellow. The circular piece could also be the other color, e.g. yellow, if it remains inside a blue square. So no extra colors would be needed. Point 2. The circular piece could cover more than one square and therefore it would need to be an extra color, e.g. red. Two colors will be required to color in adjacent squares, e.g. blue and yellow. So, in this situation there is a need for one extra color but no situation calls for two extra colors. Therefore the correct answer is C. Question 21. If an island is divided using 3 straight lines in all ways possible and each map is colored using the minimum number of colors necessary, how many different combinations of colors will be needed? The correct answer is A because of the following. Point 1. If the third line went through the same point as the other two lines, then it is clear that only 2 colors would be sufficient for the 6 areas that are created. Point 2. If the third line crossed both of the other lines at distinct points, you will create 7 different areas. By testing out the possible color schemes, you will find that only 2 colors will still be sufficient. Point 3. If the third line touched both other lines at the edge of the island, you will create 5 different areas. By testing out the possible color schemes, you will find that only 2 colors will still be sufficient. Therefore, there is only one combination of colors required, which is 2 different colors, so the correct answer is A. Question 22. What is the minimum number of different colors required so that no 2 adjacent faces of the pentagonal dipyramid are the same color? Point 1. If you go clockwise around the inner pentagon of areas, alternating between color 1, red, and color 2, yellow, you will arrive at the 5th face and will need a third color, blue, because color 1, red, cannot be used. Point 2. As the outer pentagon represents an equivalent 5 areas, the same color distribution can be used with red, yellow and blue, making sure the 2 areas that are blue do not touch via their edge. You can see that the no color is touching its own color with a line in the 2D diagram. Since 3 colors are required at minimum, the correct answer is B. Question 23. The floor of a room in my house is covered with 121 tiles to form an 11 by 11 square. How many different types of individual tile are there on this floor? The correct answer is D because of the following. First row, 1. Tiles with an unshaded square with a black outline in one corner. 2. Tiles with a back line down the middle. Second row, 3. Tiles with a black square in one corner. 4. Tiles that are half white and half black. 5 and 6. Tiles with an unshaded square in one corner and a black square in an adjacent corner, as well as its mirror image tiles. Third row, 7. Tiles that are 3/4 black. Fifth row, 8. Tiles that are all black. Overall there are 8 different tiles, therefore the correct answer is D. Question 24. Alcohol is relatively cheap, widely available and addictive. It is now the world's 3rd biggest cause of illness and premature death, behind smoking and high blood pressure. According to the World Health Organization, WHO's figures, harmful drinking kills 2.5 million people annually, about twice as many as die in road accidents. To reduce the harm caused by alcohol, it is vital to reduce consumption, which is roughly the same worldwide as it was 20 years ago. Governments should follow the WHO's advice on how to treat humanity's collective drink problem, i.e. make alcohol more expensive with a minimum price per unit, and make it less appealing by banning advertising. The alcohol industry, of course, suggests a different approach, encouraging responsible drinking, targeting problem drinkers and persuading alcohol companies not to aim their advertising at children. Which one of the following, if true, most strengthens the above argument? B is the correct answer because it provides evidence that the lower the price of alcohol, the more people buy it. This suggests that implementing whose advice of setting a minimum price per unit will work to reduce consumption. Question 25. My neighbor has two 24-hour digital clocks in her living room. One of them is always 25 minutes fast and the other is always 16 minutes slow. Why she keeps them like this I don't know, but it does mean that once every day, for 2 successive minutes, the 8 digits displayed on the 2 clocks are all different. What is the only digit that does not appear on either clock during the 2 successive minutes when all 8 digits are different? The correct answer is B because of the following. Point 1. The 2 clocks are 41 minutes apart as one clock is 25 minutes fast and one is 16 minutes slow. 25 plus 16 equals 41. Point 2. Now consider the digits that make up the hour, as all 8 digits must be different and the clocks are only 41 minutes apart, the hours can only have a difference of 1. Consider the 2 digits that make up the hour on each clock, this must differ between the 2 clocks. As digital clocks display single-digit numbers such as 7 and 8 is 07 and 08, these numbers cannot be correct as this would result in there being 2 zeros present. Therefore the only possibilities are 09 on one and 10 on the other or 19 on one and 20 on the other. It is clear that the first possibility would mean that there are 2 zeros on the clocks. Therefore the hour must be 19 on one and 20 on the other. Point 3. Now consider the final digit on each clock. They will have to be one of the remaining numbers that are not used for the hours 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8. The difference between the clocks is 41 minutes, so these final digits differ by 1 minute. There are 2 successive minutes in which this scenario must happen, so when the minute changes from the first minute to the second minute, the final digit on the clock that is slow becomes the same as the final digit that was on the clock that is fast. The final digits shown on the clocks are therefore 3 consecutive numbers out of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8. Point 4. Now consider the third digit on each clock. The fast clock is on the hour ahead of the slow clock. The time difference is 41 minutes. Throughout the 2 minutes when all digits are different, these third digits must stay the same on the clocks. This is because we have already established that 0 is used in the hour, and therefore throughout the 2 minutes, the number of minutes past the hour cannot contain a 0, so, for example, the time could not go from 39 minutes to 40 minutes past the hour. By counting out 40-minute differences, the possible combinations for this third digit, tens digit, therefore are 2 for 20-something minutes, and 0 for anywhere between 0 and 9 minutes, 3 for 30-something minutes, and 1 for 10-something minutes, 4 for 40-something minutes, and 2 for 20-something minutes, 5 for 50-something minutes, and 3 for 30-something minutes. However, we have already established that the hours on the clocks are 19 and 20, therefore the numbers 0, 1, 2 and 9 cannot feature again. This leaves the only possibility as 5 for 50 minutes, and 3 for 30 minutes. This gives the numbers used so far as 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 9. We also know that we need 3 consecutive numbers for the final digit on the clocks. These 3 digits must therefore be 6, 7, 8. Consequently, the only digit not used is 4, so the correct answer is B. Question 26. An octahedral die numbered 1 to 8 is shown below. Opposite faces add up to 9. It is being rolled on a plane surface covered with equilateral triangles, so it rolls over an edge each time with a face of the octahedron exactly covering one of the triangles. As it rolls, its bottom face covers triangles P, Q, R and S in that order as shown. Which face of the octahedron is in contact with triangle S? The correct answer is A because of the following. Point 1. You should be able to see that the octahedron starts off with the 5 face facing down. The 4 faces that you can see include 1 to 4. When traveling along the line of triangles which includes the starting point and P and the blank triangle next to P, the faces that will be involved in rolling will be the ones you cannot see, which are 5 to 8. If the die starts off on 5 and moves to the right onto P, the next number will be 6, which shares an edge with the 5 face, P with 6 face. Point 2. Now the direction of the die changes so that it is rolling along the line of triangles which includes P, Q and the blank triangle next to Q. The faces 1 to 4 are still the faces that are facing towards you. This movement is in the upward direction, and when looking at the die you can see that the top edge of the 6 face, when it's facing down, is shared with the 7 face, and so the next face to face down is 7, Q with 7 face. Point 3. Starting from a face down 7 face, the 4 faces facing towards us are 1, 2, 5 and 6. The die has to move to the right now, and the face that shares an edge to the right of a face down 7 face will be the 4 face, and the 4 will be upside down, R with 4 face. Point 4. Once 4 is face down as well as being upside down, the die needs to turn right again. Just before turning, the face that is directly above S and sharing an edge with S is the 1 face. Therefore the 1 face will end up being face down on S, S with 1 face. Therefore the correct answer is A. Question 27. Al was looking at Beth, and only at Beth, but Beth was looking at Charles. Al was married. Charles was unmarried. Dave was given the above information and asked whether, out of these 3 people, anyone married was looking at anyone unmarried. He was asked to answer, yes, no, or cannot be determined from the information, and to give a reason for his answer. Dave answered correctly, giving one of the following responses. Which one was it? The correct answer is C because of the following. A is incorrect because Beth must be either married or unmarried, and this information is enough to be able to tell whether a married person was looking at someone unmarried. B is incorrect because Beth could be unmarried, and therefore Al could be looking at an unmarried person. C is correct for the reason stated in the answer option. D is incorrect because Beth could be married and looking at Charles. E is incorrect because in either scenario, someone married would be looking at someone unmarried. Question 28. In an effort to make children understand where their food comes from, many schools are now keeping chickens and other livestock on school grounds. Whilst this does help children to learn about the realities of the origins of their dinner, this is an unwise policy from which schools should refrain. It seems that many children and their parents are unprepared for the harsh, yet obvious reality that this will eventually mean the slaughter of these animals. There have been parental complaints in some cases and reports that some children have opted to become vegetarian when faced so cruelly with this outcome. Whilst some point to the apparent hypocrisy of eating meat yet not wanting to see where it comes from, it seems that many children are simply not ready to face this reality at such a young age without damaging consequences. Which one of the following is a principle that could give support to the above argument? The correct answer is D because of the following. When establishing if a statement strengthens or weakens an argument, first establish what the conclusion is. Then we need to establish what evidence the author is using to support that claim. You can then go through the statements and see if they support or undermine the argument, whether by directly supporting or undermining the conclusion or by strengthening or weakening the evidence provided. The main conclusion of the argument is that schools should not keep animals and then slaughter them for food because of the damaging consequences it can have on children. In this case, the question is asking which principle is going to strengthen the argument. In this context, a principle is a concept that is generally accepted as being true. For example, in medical practice, first, do no harm is a key principle of medical ethics. Statement A contradicts this argument instead of strengthening it. Statements B and C also contradicts the main conclusion of the argument. The correct answer must therefore be D. This supports the idea that there is no need to educate children about the realities of meat because, at such a young age, it may harm them. Question 29. The net shown below can be folded to make a cube. Which of the following are possible views of the cube that can be made from the net above? The correct answer is E because of the following. The best method to approach this question is by imagining that the faces of the net are numbered from 1 to 6 from bottom left, 1, to top right, 6, then fold the net starting with the faces displayed by each cube option. Now consider the points below. Cube 1, this cube displays the faces 1, 4 and 5. However, 1, 4 and 5 cannot be folded into this orientation as none of them are next to each other. Cube 2, this cube displays the faces 4, 5 and 6. This orientation of the 3 faces is possible. Start with face 4 facing forward and you will be able to fold this pattern, therefore this is correct. Cube 3, this cube displays the faces 1, 2 and 3. However, for faces 1 and 2 to be in this orientation, face 3, the blank face, must be on the bottom of the cube, not the top. Cube 4, this cube displays the faces 2, 5 and 6. This orientation of the 3 faces is possible. Start with face 2 facing forward and you will be able to fold this pattern, therefore this is correct. Cube 5. This cube displays the faces 3, 4 and 6. This orientation of the three faces is possible. Start with face 3 facing forward and you will be able to fit this pattern, therefore this is correct. Cube 6. This cube displays the faces 1, 3 and 4. This orientation of the three faces is possible. Start with face 3 on the top and you will be able to fit this pattern, therefore this is correct. Cubes 2, 4, 5 and 6 are possible, therefore the correct answer is E. Question 30. When our hands are soaked in water, the skin on them becomes wrinkled. These wrinkles form a pattern of channels, similar to rain treads on tires, that direct water away from the fingertip. Research shows that this characteristic must have evolved because it gave human beings a better grip underwater. The researchers timed people as they transferred wet or dry objects from one box to another, either with or without wrinkled fingers. Wet objects were transferred faster with wrinkled fingers than without, but the time it took to transfer dry objects was the same as without wrinkles. This suggests that wrinkled fingers are advantageous to us in that they help us to grip wet objects. 1. It is advantageous for humans to be able to grip objects underwater. 2. Some human characteristics are not advantageous to us. 3. Advantageous characteristics must have evolved because they were advantageous. Which of the numbered statements is an assumption? Are assumptions underlying the above argument? The correct answer is D because of the following. In this context, an assumption is a statement that is not stated directly in the text but which must be true for the conclusion of the passage to be accurate. To identify an assumption, we therefore need to know what the conclusion of the passage is. Once you have identified the conclusion, you can then consider each statement in turn and check if it is mentioned directly in the passage. If it is not an assumption. If not, consider whether the statement needs to be true in order for the conclusion to be supported. If it does need to be true, then you have identified an assumption. If it does not, then the statement is not an assumption of the argument. The passage states that the skin on fingers has evolved to become wrinkled when soaked in water in order to give humans a better grip underwater. The passage also states that this ability suggests that wrinkled fingers are advantageous to us in that they help us grip wet objects. However, nowhere in the passage is there evidence that the ability to grip wet objects is actually advantageous, therefore statement 1 is an assumption. Statement 2 is not an assumption underlying the argument. The passage only makes reference to the fact that characteristics, using the example of wrinkled fingers, can be advantageous. Therefore, there is no assumption that humans have characteristics that are not advantageous. Statement 3 is an assumption because the passage links the idea that finger skin wrinkling is advantageous to the idea that this characteristic evolved. There is no evidence in the text that this characteristic evolved because it was advantageous, therefore this must be an assumption. The correct answer is therefore D. Question 31. A group of 10 teenagers attending a party meal are each given a card numbered from 3 to 12 as they arrive at the venue. The card is to be used to find their places at the table when it is time for the meal. Some of the places at the table already have the numbers showing, but the teenagers have to solve the problem of where the rest of them should sit in order to meet a list of criteria given to them by their host. The partial seating plan is shown below. The remaining guests must sit in places such that the sum of any 4 place numbers that fall in a straight line makes 29. What will be the number of the person sitting opposite number 9? The correct answer is A because of the following. Point 1. The only remaining place numbers must be 3, 4, 7, 8 and 11. Now, consider the bottom line of seats. The 2 empty seats must contain numbers adding up to 7, as this will give a total of 29 for that row. Of the numbers available, the only combination possible is 3 plus 4. Point 2. Now consider the top line of seats. The 2 empty seats must contain numbers adding up to 15, as this will give a total of 29 for that row. Of the numbers available, the only combination possible is 7 plus 8. Point 3. The remaining number for the seat next to 6 and opposite mum must be 11. Considering the line of seats with 6 and 11, the 2 seats on the corner must add up to 29 minus 7 equals 12. One of 3 or 4 and one of 7 or 8 must be on the corners. The only combination of these that add up to 12 is 4 and 8. Therefore the seat opposite number 9 must be 3. Therefore the correct answer is A. Question 32. In 10000 typical young people, if 1% of non-cannabis users develop psychosis, how many cannabis users would be expected to develop psychosis? The correct answer is B because of the following. 1. The passage states that individuals who use cannabis are 41% more likely to have psychosis than non-cannabis smokers, therefore 1% of 1.41 equals 1.41% of cannabis smokers will develop psychosis. 1.41 is the multiplier required to find a 41% increase in likelihood. 2. The passage also states that 20% of young people smoke cannabis. Of these 10,000 young people, 10,000 multiplied by 0.2 equals 2,000 will smoke cannabis. 0.2 is the multiplier required to find 20% of something. 1.41% of these develop psychosis, therefore equals 0.014x 2000 equals 28.2 people. As there has to be a whole number of people, the answer will be 28.2 rounded down to 28. Therefore, the correct answer is B. Question 33. The report states, about 20% of young people now report using cannabis. Individuals who used cannabis were 41% more likely to have any psychosis given these two figures, and assuming that the incidence of psychosis for reasons other than cannabis use is the same in both users and non-users, what is the percentage of all those with psychosis who have it due to cannabis use? Answer to the nearest 1%. The correct answer is A. Question 34. Which one of the following, if true, would provide a plausible alternative reason for the link between cannabis use and psychotic illness? The correct answer is B because it provides a plausible explanation, essentially stating that the correlation between cannabis use and psychosis is not due to causation and is instead due to a confounding factor, that those with mental health problems are driven to use cannabis. Question 35. Which one of the following, if true, would most strengthen the conclusion that there is a causal link between cannabis use and psychotic illness? The correct answer is C because it shows that by only increasing cannabis strength smoked, the psychosis of users increases. This shows that cannabis is the cause of the psychosis.